My name is Homer Osterman, Dover Condition Cost, Potawatomi and Dow. I was sitting here on behalf of the Potawatomi. Devin Douglas, a how, a which. That's an opening in our language that our language department has been revitalizing, and we do it 200 words at a time, believe it or not. And it's something that our culture had lost back in the removal era with the separation from families, and we're slowly bringing it back, and we're seeing progress there. So I'd like to just open up and say which. Great. I'll start out with the overview for today. I'll do an introduction with the tribes of Michigan, the Potawatomi nations as well, the Rupture and Release report that was issued by the National Transportation Safety Board, accident report. I'll use that as my resource, so if you have any questions, that's a great tool to go back to and read. It's only about 150 pages when you consider the context of government documents. That's pretty small. I have consultation processes with notices that are being issued by many agencies, regional office and backyard visits, environmental impact state assessments, and then some of the lessons learned from the Marshall oil spill. Policy and culture change with corporations, bureaucracy, and leadership. So I think I should have started off with the lessons learned. Watching the time. Okay, real quick, we'll go through the Council of Three Fires. At the top, you'll notice is the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi. There are three tribes that basically have lived historically in Michigan for a number of hundreds of years. And of those tribes, the Chippewa are typically the Upper Peninsula. Ottawa is the West Coast shoreline along West Michigan, or Lake Michigan it is. And the Potawatomi is typically Detroit, Grand River, south into Chicago, and even up into the Green Bay region. Potawatomi nations, there are 9 Potawatomi nations that all act independently. We do have allegiance with social and cultural ties and bonding. 7 of the 9 tribes are located in the Midwest region of the United States. There's 4 in Michigan, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Kansas, and in Oklahoma. That's because of the removal status back in the 1930s from President Andrew Jackson. We also have 2 Potawatomi nations in Ontario, Canada. And just to let you know, the Potawatomi translation back old school for us is Potawatomi, and that means keeper of the fire. The Nottawasapi have Environment Department. Their key staff is in geography, water quality, habitat specialist, air quality, and wild rice restoration. Just keep in mind, I'll come back to wild rice restoration a little later on. The Tribal Council appoints 7 tribal members for valued input and cultural ties to the community. So the department, with its professional staff, will consultate with the committee members, identifying cultural needs and especially how it impacts us. These are some of the committee members. Pine Creek Indian Reservation. I don't have a pointer, but you'll see a small community over in about the 9 o'clock region on this map that's been developed. We're currently acquiring more lands for more community needs, but you can obviously see it's a rural setting, largely agriculturally based, and the Pine Creek runs adjacent to our reservation. The Rupture Release. Now this is from the traffic accident report that I had mentioned earlier. You'll notice that where the pipelines are coming from with Enbridge, and the Enbridge pipeline 6B that comes up through our territory goes down through Chicago back up to Sarnia with that. And Marshall is basically middle of the state. We're basically in between Chicago and Detroit. Our casino was a mile away from this rupture point. Now, if our casino had to close, there would have been a significant loss to the tribe, to the state of Michigan, and to the local region, because our contributions financially are giving back to the community in excess of $150 million. So there would have been a stop point there, and that would have a negative impact on the community. The smell, when I reported to work that Monday morning, it was heavy in the air, and just for me walking from my car to the office, my eyes were starting to burn. That's how close we were to it, and that was the impact. Our air infiltration system in the casino helped out. Casinos are known for home grounds of smoking, people that smoke cigarettes, and we had been one of the first tribes at this stage to develop and build in and incorporate a air infiltration system. It doesn't smell as smoky as some as others. The Enbridge site, key things down the bottom that I want you to pay attention to. 17 hours was unaddressed of oil flow. That's important. And with Brad Shalama's presentation, that's part of their lessons learned. The effect of 17 hours of being unaddressed, thank you, is 35 miles of damage beginning near Marshall, side of the spill, and toward the into the Kalamazoo River. What the key was is that there were 2 restarts in that 17 hours. They picked it up as an anomaly, thought that this was something that wasn't a damage or a spill, and so they restarted the system. Now, if they would have stopped right there, the first number, 160,000 gallons released, that would have been the stop point right there. And in correlation with the report, it could have stopped at $145 million. Now, in the traffic report, it states that 81% of the oil spill happened because of those 2 restarts. That adds on another 683 gallons, or 1,000 gallons, for an estimated total release of 843. Now, that number does fluctuate. The worst case scenario is 1.1 million gallons released. And then it also drives the cost of recovery at the $67 million. But that's the size of the 6-foot rupture. Again, the NTSB Executive Summary points out 3 things that are really important for lessons learned. And I do think the Enbridge is on the right track with that, and but there's still more work to be done. At least they're openly, publicly speaking about lessons learned and the change of their culture. The availability of trained responders from Enbridge and training models was missing, wasn't there. But there's also responsibility back with PHMSA, lack of regulation guidance, and limited oversight. So there was not a working relationship, or if there was one, it was real weak, real flawed. The Telematch Creek enters into the Kalamazoo. This is where, if they would have stopped the first time, this leak site would have stopped right there. That's 3 miles. Now, you got the next 30 miles of Kalamazoo oil spill that could have been avoided, just based on either corporate error or operator error, or, where PHMSA's Oakwood site should have been in there. There was one person working that shift that made the call, just restart the engines for the flow twice. And that's where Brad had mentioned, that has now changed. Shutting it down, anybody can shut it down. Not everybody can restart. Our cultural sensitivities are medicines that we use in our religious practices. Those include tobacco, sweetgrass, sage, and those are important because those are part of our religious ceremonies, and there's damage with that. This is also an important area for our wild rice restoration, which could be an economic driver in the agricultural industry. Some of the not being included in the natural resource damage assessment was really important. We were shut out in many layers, and these are some of the components that we were shut out in. And just because of time, I'm not going to hit everyone in detail, but we have to be included in that part of the process with the damage assessments, and we need to have a seat at the table. Again, some of the cultural resource threats, I had mentioned those. Medicines and that are important in our religious ceremonies, and this is just a sample, a picture of some of those. Wild rice is really important. Thank you. It is really important because we're recognizing that the rice industry in the agricultural field can be profitable. So we want to be able to make sure this is an aboriginal crop to Michigan. That's important. It's important for the wildlife, the waterfowl. That is also attracts hunting and gathering people, especially for geese and duck and the habitats along that line, as well as a food resource that can be capitalized in an agricultural sense. And this is two of our tribal members going over the wild rice process of growing it in slow-moving water flows. Sustainable for our powwow grounds and celebrations with social economic ties to our community is really important. And lessons learned, getting back to this. Networking with the local, state, and federal agencies is really important. Universities are now getting on board with a lot of this and bringing a lot more attention. So I should have included that. That's something I learned from today's presentation. Natural resource damage assessment. We need to have a role and play a valuable role in that part of the process. Right now, what we would say in recommendations to any other tribes or associations, baseline studies before the damage occurs is really important. Because once you find out you're in the middle of the mitigation process, what will happen there is that a company will identify several other known hazards to the area. Michigan is rather known for PCBs, and if the oil spill goes any further, it goes into a Superfund site on the Kalamazoo River because of the PCB contaminations. We recommend that cascading event modeling takes priority instead of site-specific development. Army Corps of Engineers specifically drives that process, and it's site-specific. So they talk about an oil spill or a mishap, but they stay at the site. They don't cascade the events going following the river flow. That needs to change. We need to see positive change there. They're one of the few agencies that can regulate that on themselves, and that's a self-decision. Influence of policy and culture change. You're starting to see Enbridge change because now they're starting to talk about it publicly with some of Brad's comments and concerns from yesterday. So you're starting to see some of that change. It's up to us in this room to challenge them continually to make sure that that change is going to be viable and it's going to be a constant in their company. It's not just about a profit loss statement. It's about the safety and the environment of all of us. Pipeline Hazard Material Safety Administration. I think that's one of the areas that really needs to be readdressed because right now the lack of attention there with tribal governments and no consultation with tribes is a detriment to everyone because we're part of the federal process in the states. And so positive change there can happen. I'd like to be able to say congratulations to Governor Snyder. He's been open and frank about consultation with tribes. We've had some successes, and being one of the appointees on this board is one of those successes. So, trying to include tribes, make sure there's specific build-outs, because we're part of a federal process, even though we're inside the state boundaries. And that's really important here, because when you need to leverage some of the federal officials, and they hear from the tribes, they also listen. So there is that engagement process. But changing the policy and the culture inside of bureaucracy is really important as well. So I'd like to say, McWitch, thanks for inviting me again, and I hope you enjoyed it.